This is the easiest and most delicious bread I've ever made. It turns out amazing. Here in my bowl, I'm going to add 5.5 ounces of yogurt. I'm using plain yogurt, which gives it a very soft texture. I'm also going to add half a cup of vegetable oil. It's important to use a neutral oil so it doesn't affect the flavor. Now I'm going to crack 1 egg and add it to the bowl. Here, I'm going to separate the yolk from the egg white. Carefully, I completely separate the egg white. Now, I set the yolk aside in another container. I'm adding a pinch of salt to balance the flavors. Using a hand whisk, I quickly mix until the mixture is smooth. Done. The mixture is perfectly uniform. Now I'm adding 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder. I'm also going to add 5 cups of all-purpose flour. I incorporate it gradually, mixing with the whisk. When the dough gets too heavy, it's time to knead it by hand. I remove the whisk and scrape off any excess dough. Now I add the remaining flour to continue the process. At this point, I start kneading by hand. I knead gently until I get a smooth, soft dough. You'll notice that the texture isn't sticky, but it remains very pliable. The dough is super fluffy and easy to handle. And here you can see the texture, very soft and elastic. The consistency is creamy, but doesn't stick to your hands. Now I'm adding 1 diced red bell pepper. I'm also adding chopped parsley and chives, which give it a delicious flavor. These ingredients enhance the aroma and taste of our bread. It turns out spectacular. Now I mix the dough again to fully incorporate the bell pepper and herbs. The idea is to distribute the ingredients evenly throughout the dough. Done! The dough is now perfectly mixed with the ingredients. Now I'm going to use a spoon to portion out the dough. I use a large spoon to make sure all the breads are the same size. I take a generous portion and shape it. I mold the dough into a bun-like shape. I press gently so the ingredients stick well to the dough. This is how it should look. Now I place each bun directly on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. I space them apart to allow them to rise properly. And I keep shaping all the breads. It's an easy process, and the result is incredibly delicious. Plus, you can shape them differently if you like. They can be round, square, rectangular, or thinner. Done! I placed the last bread on the baking sheet. With this amount, I got 9 breads, and now I have the egg yolk I set aside earlier. I whisk it slightly to make it more liquid. Using a pastry brush, I apply it over all the breads. Look how beautiful they will turn out. I apply only a light layer so they don't get too moist. I brush each bread gently. All of them are well covered with egg yolk. Now I bake them in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. And they're ready. My breads are baked, golden, and fluffy. Now I'm going to take one while it's still warm and break it open. Look at this wonderful bread.